Hello, welcome to the show. This is Emotional Badass, where Moxie meets mindful. I'm your host, Nikki Eisenhower, life coach and psychotherapist. And on today's episode, we're discussing sleep and insomnia, so you can sleep better even when you're experiencing anxiety. Years ago on an episode, I said on the show that worry is not a love language, and that had a big response. If we were raised by a lot of anxiety in one or both parental figures, we can learn a worrisome way of being. We can learn that worry and love are enmeshed, and it can take direct, intentional, conscious work to disentangle love from worry. As we move through this episode together, I'm going to give you practical things that you can do today to say goodbye to insomnia and hello to sweet sleep, which you very much deserve. Our sleep really is our foundation. No matter what we're struggling with our mental health, with our quality of life, sleep is a foundational force. It is worth your effort to put as much as you can put into getting the sleep that will really restore you. Remember to find Emotional Badass wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure to hit that subscribe and follow button to get more videos like this in your feed. Years ago on an episode, I said on the show that worry is not a love language, and that had a big response. If we were raised by a lot of anxiety in one or both parental figures, we can learn a worrisome way of being. We can learn that worry and love are enmeshed, and it can take direct, intentional, conscious work to disentangle love from worry. As we move through this episode together, I'm going to give you practical things that you can do today to say goodbye to insomnia and hello to sweet sleep, which you very much deserve. Our sleep really is our foundation. No matter what we're struggling with our mental health, with our quality of life, sleep is a foundational force. It is worth your effort to put as much as you can put into getting the sleep that will really restore you. Think about what worry actually is. Worry is anxiety projected onto people, experiences, life to no positive avail. Worry is its own energy vampire, y'all. People don't appreciate you worrying for them. They appreciate care, concern, support, help, good intention. But it doesn't really feel loving to have worry and fret aimed at us and considered love. Check in with yourself. Don't just believe me here. How do you feel in the face of someone worrying for you, worrying at you as love? Some moments in life may be worrisome, no doubt. None of us are getting through this life without some good old-fashioned worrisome moments. Worry is normal to think. It's normal to feel. But we must admit that worry doesn't fix. It's never fixed any dilemma we've ever had. Check in with yourself again here. Am I making this up? Am I spewing some psychobabble at you? Can you come up with a time when worry actually really saved the day? When worry changed an outcome? Now, maybe you can argue that worrying about not forgetting our phone, let's say, when we're leaving the house, actually makes us remember to grab the phone before we leave the house, right? This may work, but does it work cleanly? Does it work without side effect? Is it wise to worry, to use worry in such a way, making your mind, body, and nervous system feel the stress of worry? Worry over daily mundane things like not forgetting stuff before we leave. It might work, but what are the consequences to this? Is it really right for you to give yourself permission to practice worry, to grow big worry muscles, to strengthen your ability to worry? Many sensitive people practice worry mindlessly throughout their normal average days about all the mundane things that cross our paths. In this way, our days can invite us to worry almost constantly. We can worry we'll be late. that there will be traffic. Sensitive people often worry through imagined conversations and conflicts that won't even ever come to fruition. They won't even happen. If you worried through the last election in any way, can you see that all the worry that you did, that you felt, that you practiced, all it really did was wear on your mind, body, and heart? This practice of worry is a problem in its own right. It's a problem in our waking hours, right? All day long, all these invitations to worry. But when it comes to going to sleep, it's a huge, sneaky problem. It's a highly sensitive disaster. Sleep is imperative. Sleep is our reset. It's our recharge. It's our rest. Many highly sensitive people lie down at night to go to sleep and just start to feel their mind doing what it's practiced, thinking through every worry it possibly could. So we lay down with the intention to sleep, and yet what has been practiced is this. Geez, I have so much anxiety, I can't turn my mind off. I can't sleep. Now I'm going to proceed to worry some more because now I need to worry about not feeling rested tomorrow. Worried about how many hours I'm laying here not sleeping. Worried about what the day holds tomorrow. Worry, worry, worry. And we lay there wondering, gee, why can't I turn my mind off? Why can't I just fall asleep? Exhausted. And yet somehow, paradoxically, sort of wired through our thought centers to do the opposite of rest. Worry. If we zoom out on a highly sensitive person who has awful relationship with sleep, what we can start to see is, there's been a continuous practice of overthinking, of worrying, of fretting, of one of my favorite words for it, dithering. If we had ideal and perfect control over our mental processor, our mental computer that we call the brain as the physical structure and the mind as the part of the brain, our thinking that we can't really touch or operate on or cut into or scan. If we had ideal and perfect control, which let's be real, that's what all of us want, over all the things, and healing and self-development is about figuring out, okay, what don't I have control over and what do I have control over? So if we had the control that we pine for over our mind and brain, over our mental processor, over this mental computer that runs and runs and runs, then we could simply program ourselves to turn off the lights and we would be a snoozing and a snoring immediately. No sleep problems. But guess what? What we practice, we strengthen. So for many highly sensitive people and survivors of childhood chaos and trauma, the muscles of worry and overthinking, fretting, dithering are Herculean. And the muscles of rest, peace, ease, security, safety, quiet mind and body are actually atrophied from underuse. In the very same way, someone's leg muscles become atrophied, weak and shaky. They won't even work to hold somebody up if they've been in a coma a long time because we have to work those muscles or we lose those muscles. And we know if somebody wakes up from a coma that they just can't get up and run a marathon. They're going to need help even getting their legs to take them across the room or to the bathroom. And it's going to be a process of intentional conditioning, reconditioning, strength training those atrophied muscles. Wake from that coma, and it's physical therapy to regain the musculature that withered away with lack of use. Have an emotional or spiritual awakening, and the muscles many must rehabilitate are of peace, rest that allows us to reduce anxiety and worry to be able to fall into the beautiful slumber that I know you are sort of fighting life and frustrated with life to be able to get. And I know you've tried so much, probably everything that you know how to do, to try to have this easiness in falling asleep into this beautiful slumber. I want you to know that these patterns did not develop overnight, and your healing is going to take some patience here. Because if you add frustration to this, that is also not the energy of good sleep. Sleep hygiene is likely a term you've heard, right? We've all heard this. We all know this. It's 2025, sleep hygiene. But let's be honest with ourselves. Are you somebody that has really taken this little nugget of sleep hygiene and applied it? But is it more like me? I did this for years. I knew in my head that I very much should be enacting good sleep hygiene, but I had a sort of, yeah, I don't really want to do that. I'm not really going to do that stuff. I know it, but I'm not going to do it because it's kind of a pain and I don't want to. A lot of inner adolescent giving the finger to the very thing that would help me in quite literally every other waking moment and area of my life. And yet I myself resisted it. If I had magical powers, y'all, I would absolutely take away this sort of adolescent resistance that so many of us in healing experience, because it's the very thing that blocks us from the very things that will give us our heart's desire, that will actually honor our worth and give us more of the quality of life that so many of us have fought for, scraped up the side of the mountain to try to get. There are things you can do to help your sleep tonight, but a big part of this might be managing that inner resistance, that inner adolescence that just doesn't want to go to bed at a good hour, doesn't want to turn those screens off, doesn't want to really invite the energy of sleep. There's what you do tonight towards your sleep, and there's what you do over time. You've heard me say brain train over the years. This may be a sleep training. We tend to only think about that when people are trying to get their kids out of their bed and into their own beds. But adults, we might need sleep training too, especially in this modern technological era. Over time, you can gain massive sleep gains as your mind, body, your heart, your nervous system basically understand the new program that you're offering by making these changes. And you can't just think these changes, y'all. You have to be willing. And sometimes it feels like giving yourself a little old kick in your own booty to enact, to do, to behaviorally practice these things I'm about to share. I do want to take a moment to thank those of you who have bought my newest item, Patternscapes. What's occurred to me by getting feedback is that for almost 7 years, y'all, in March, we're celebrating our 7th anniversary. I've been getting on this microphone and sharing my voice with all of you. I have given you sort of my all in terms of showing myself and sharing myself. And now something really beautiful has happened. Now I made this tangible thing, this deck of meditations and exercises. And the reality that now in a moment of struggle, whereas before you might have reached for an episode, reached for a video of mine to help you through, now you get to have something tangible in a moment where you're struggling. The beauty of that, the power of that has really hit me like right in my heart. To those of you that have given feedback, like, I had no idea how impactful these cards would be to my life. Thank you. Another really powerful piece of feedback was someone saying, basically, oh my goodness, I think this is finally going to be the thing that helps me quit smoking. And my favorite is, Nikki, I know you did this with your whole heart to give to us, and that it is a box of me. If you want Patternscapes, come to getpatternscapes.com. If you're in the US, we can ship to you. We are committed to figuring out how to ship internationally later this year. If you can see me in video right now, this is what it looks like, y'all. And if you're in Patreon, of course, you get our biggest discount. Listeners of the show, if you want to save 10%, use code New Year through the end of January. I can't wait to get more of your feedback. Thank you so much for being a listener all these years. Thank you for being open and willing. Thank you for receiving what me and my small team has worked so hard to put together and put out for your greater well-being. Come to getpatternscapes.com. You get to offer yourself the self-care and self-love of a sleep routine. Basic sleep hygiene says to wind down. This is important for the average nervous system. I don't have a number to give you, but I want to tell you that in my heart and gut, I want to say it's 10 times as important that a highly sensitive person have so much more wind down time. I would love if I only needed an hour of wind down time a night. It's not true, y'all. The truth is I need about 3 or 4 hours, ideally even 5. And if that sounds crazy to you, that makes me even more glad that I'm listening to my intuition and sharing that with you. What we need is what we need. There might be a time and a place to sort of wrestle ourselves or fight ourselves or try for something different. But there's also a time and a place to step back and embrace, how am I different? What are my expectations of me? Am I expecting myself to be like a person in my life that isn't highly sensitive? What happens if I start really engaging me, the real me, and I start really owning without judgment, without shame, without trying to assimilate into how everybody else does it, which is something our psyches will tease us with, when the truth is we never know how everybody else is doing it. We don't have to compare, but in healing, we really learn how to own who we are, and that helps open up the pathways of what we really actually need that's going to help us. So lower that lighting, maybe even hours and hours before you're going to bed. A dialing down of noise and stimulation in the hours before bed is such a wise thing. We know to do this with children. It's why we read bedtime stories to kids. What would give you that, oh, I'm tucking you in because I love you and I'm reading you a bedtime story feeling? You get to use helpful tools to make any of this going to sleep easier on you. I love my little silk sleep mask to block out the light. It's a signal and a cue to all of my systems that bedtime is now. No more stimulation, no more blue light into these eyeballs, into this brain. Believe it or not, this sleep mask is a boundary. It's a boundary between me and the waking world that invites me into the realm of sleep. A sound machine. This can help you both block out sound and give you a lulling soundtrack to invite you into sleep. When we've practiced worrying for a lifetime and the mind races, right in that moment when we intend to lay down and go to sleep, this is now an association. We are creatures that learn, and we learn far too well sometimes. So if worry has been deeply practiced, overthinking practiced, future thinking, somebody I know and love calls it future tripping. If this has been practiced, the stressing, the turning over the past or imagining the future as practices before bed, your mind and body has now learned an association. The association now is that sleepy time actually means stressy time. And that is the problem you face. Unwinding helps guide your system. Instead of trying to swing the pendulum from I'm up and awake, I'm fully on, and then flipping a switch to go, okay, mind, body, brain, heart. Turn off. We need more in the gray. That's too black or white. That's too all or nothing. It's too jarring. That in and of itself is so far away from the energy of the realm of sleep. The brain will let go of an old association, but not by magic, not because you have more birthdays, not because you cross your fingers, not because you're very frustrated with what's going on with your sleep. The brain will let go of an association it's made if you let yourself practice new, healthier associations. And you have to be willing to practice them long enough. And let's be real, most people give up far too early because of more frustration. We're also not doing a great job delaying gratification in our society, waiting, cultivating patience. So if something doesn't work immediately, we tend to get flustered, frustrated, flabbergasted, and want to throw it out the window and give up. Go right back to the old pattern, the old association. That's not going to give us better sleep. So be real with yourself, but also be kind. If this has been a long-standing, unfortunate practice, you may have to reassociate a healthier sleep routine for many, 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 many nights to get your mind and body to learn what is new and let go of what is an old association here. Because again, this did not happen overnight. When I first realized this, I had to really sit down with myself and recognize, acknowledge, and sit in, I have been practicing stressing every night of my life since I was a small child in elementary school. We're talking 20 years when I first learned this, maybe more like 25. So I had to sit with myself and really consider 25 years of nights of practicing stress instead of practicing sleep energy. When I put it that way, can you hear how reasonable it is that it took a couple years for my body to start to receive this new association, this healthier association, that getting horizontal and going to bed means drifting off to sleep? No longer stressing about everything that has ever happened to me and everything I have not completed yet in this one precious life. So what do you do with these worries now that there's an association with bedtime and worry? Here's a practical tip, and this might sound totally backwards, but I want you to plan out earlier in the day, far, far away from bedtime, because we don't want to associate this with bedtime. We want to associate this with I'm awake, I'm thinking, I'm doing things. I want you to sit down and give yourself a deliberate worrying practice. Yep, that's right. That sounds backwards, right? I'm a therapist and a life coach, and I'm telling you to worry deliberately. Here's how a deliberate worrying practice works. Number one, I suggest in the morning or at lunch and no later, get into a habit of writing down your worries. Handwriting speaks to the soul, if you will, and may help speed the change process more so than typing, but it's better done than done ideally. So if typing is your thing, type it. If you're open, write it for more release. Write down your worries. Don't do anything else. Allow yourself to fully focus on worry. No punctuation, no explanation, just quick getting it off of your mind, out of your body, out of your system, onto some paper. Just a quick list. No overthinking. This is not a journal activity necessarily. It's not something to expand on. It's something more like dumping out. You don't dump out trash and then sit there and play around in it, right? You dump trash and you're done. We want to sort of just dump our worries. Just list them out. Second thing, look at that list and separate it. Now, I like to just use a simple circle. So that separates it, right? I have circled items and I have non-circled items. It's easy, it's simple, that's enough. It's all you got to do to make the distinction between these two categories. Here you go. Separate your list into actionable versus hypothetical. Take that in for a minute. We really do have a relationship with these worries. But what we don't realize is that, some of our worries, we can become actionable. We can do something about it. And that's what anxiety wants to do, y'all. It doesn't want to sit and wait and twiddle its thumbs. It wants to be able to do something towards reducing the stressor, making something better, easier. Being late in the morning is a common worry at night, right? I don't want to oversleep. Is there going to be traffic? Tomorrow's a big day. You can use your energy to continue your worry practice. You could always do that. You can worry just as much as you want to worry. It's your energy. You get to decide where it goes. Worry doesn't get to decide for you. Your grown-up self, you get to step into that empowerment, decides where your energy goes. So you get to decide, do you want it to go to worry? And the practice of worry, which brings more worry later? Or mark it as actionable and use your energy to do what you can do towards empowerment, towards managing in life this worry, instead of trying to manage it by spinning on worry. Spinning, which sabotages. Because if your sleep is disrupted by this, you're more likely to be late, not early. So there's a real backfiring. To work on this, I highly recommend sitting with and working on intentionally accepting my worry really only wears me out. It does not help. If I can circle it and find action that I'm willing and able to do today, then I can and I will. But if I can't, I let it go on that paper. That worry will wait for me. My sleep will not. Use your energy with great wisdom. All your wisdom is hard-earned. When you do so, this is really one of the secrets to making your life easier, to not being so exhausted as a highly sensitive person. Empowering you to choose, even when that feels hard. It'll be hard at first because it will be new and it will be different. And it's only later, if you practice it enough, that will no longer be true. And that's how you become an old pro. That's how things become easier, second nature. They take almost no thought at that point because they've been your practice. Use your energy to choose to prep your outfit, to prep your breakfast the night before. That is an actionable thing you can do in self-support and self-love towards making your morning easier, more flowy, and so that you can hit the mark of getting to work on time. If you're worried about things that are outside of your control, work on, and I do mean work, and it's worth it, acceptance that's offered in the Serenity Prayer. Now, the Serenity Prayer, and you may modify it any way that resonates with you. I modify it, God or the universe, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Learning to let go of what we just can't control is a necessary skill if a highly sensitive person wants peace and ease in falling asleep, but in life. This isn't something we learn once or twice or even a few times. It's more like the embracing of a lifestyle of continuous, intentional letting go. Because this modern life, y'all, it seems to offer a constant invitation to stress. And to stress about so much that is completely outside of our control, especially at night when we're trying to go to sleep. Accept that some worries are unsolvable right now. I'm going to say that again, because so many highly sensitive people are so hardworking and so hard on themselves that they will not admit this to their own detriment. Some worries are just not solvable right now. some may never be. All we can healthily do here is acknowledge and release. Some of the language I use for myself here is, I can't do anything else with this until something gives. Or I just can't do anything else with this until I have more information that I don't have right now. I will figure this out when the universe provides more insight. Very often, highly sensitive people are trying to figure out life with a lot of pressure on themselves, as if the answer is right there and it's easy to get if they just figure it out. But often the highly sensitive person isn't seeing or acknowledging that a lot of the time it's just not figure outable with the amount of information that's available, or we just have to wait. It has to unfold. I can't work a math problem if some of the math numbers are missing, y'all. This is also true of a lot of our worry, a lot of our emotional process. We often can't work out the emotional issue or the practical issue if a lot of the information we need is just not available. An energy that very much works for night is gratitude. Most of you listening to this show probably have a strong understanding of gratitude and gratitude practice. It may be a new idea to connect this to the energy of nighttime and falling asleep. We can shift to gratitude, and I mean shift. I know I'm showing my age here when I say I know how to drive a stick shift. I know how to drive a 5-speed. Most people these days only know how to drive an automatic, so you might have to imagine. But if you have to shift gears in a car, you don't just think, oh goodness, I should shift right now. When shall I shift? You have to push in that clutch and use your energy, sometimes a whole lot of it, to shift that car, to move that lever. Sometimes it feels like it doesn't want to cooperate with me, and yet I've got to just shove that lever in. We shift with a similar energy to gratitude. We don't wander there. We don't swim. We shift. We make it happen. And no, gratitude doesn't fix us, y'all. But it sure does rewire our energies. I don't want or expect you to go cold turkey with your thoughts at night. I don't want you to try to stop all thoughts like someone stops all cigarettes. I don't want you to think you have to turn your mind completely off to be able to go to sleep. Because it won't even work if you try. Then you'll just bring on more frustration for your efforts. Your brain is a processor. And your particular brain, if you're listening to this, likely is one that spins and spins and spins at night. So especially at first, we're going to work with that reality. All right, you've got a spinning mind. I've got you. You've got you. This is a bit for an adult, like the energy of taking a sharp object from a toddler while handing them a soft, safe, stuffed animal to replace it with. So many adults would do that for a child, would not expect the child to give up that sharp pencil without having that replacement stuffed animal right there. Yet with themselves, will very much, in a way that winds up being pretty harsh, unreasonable, and not easy to do. It doesn't work. Will expect themselves to take away the bad, dangerous thing like the overthinking, the worry, the stressing, with no replacement. It's an energy like, yeah, you're just supposed to lay there. You should go to sleep. Your brain should know how to turn off, which is a punishing energy. Again, that's not the energy to lull yourself to sleep at night for a restful, beautiful slumber. I don't want you punished to sleep, even accidentally. So to take away your worry, your sharp object, if you will, you take that out. You say, nope, that's not for this time. Nope, we don't do that right now. Nope, you're going to hurt yourself with that. Give that to me. And you let your wise woman, your wise man, your highest self help you manage this. And you let her or him take away that worry and hand over gratitude. You can have gratitude for what is simple And you can allow the spinning to spin on gratitude. It's a different frequency. It's a different energy. And until your mind gets enough practice substituting gratitude for worry, you can do this and you can spin. After you have that practice, then there will be amazing opportunities to watch the overthinking fall away too. You get to practice gratitude for having hands, eyes, teeth that chew food, blankets, warmth. I can say hair. My husband can't say hair. He's bald. You get to show gratitude. What you show gratitude for doesn't really matter. It's the replacement for the brain and the mind swirling that is important. When I was working on this, I would fall asleep just repeating the Serenity Prayer I shared with you earlier, again and again and again and again, almost till those words lost meaning and they became sort of gobbledygook in my mind, and I could drift off to sleep. If you feel flooded and your mind is worry dumping on you, know that you can modify this technique a little bit. You can jump out of bed and dump your worries onto paper for 5 to 15 minutes. No longer. Intentionally dumping as much and as fast as you can, just dumping out on paper. I like to say to my own mind after I lay down and attempt to drift to sleep, no more worry. It's on the paper. It's not allowed on my mind right now. So that I can dance away from worry and into slow, quiet, simple gratitude. So that frequency of gratitude can then blend into the frequency of sleep. My last practical sleep technique that I have for you is to lay there and say to yourself, it's good enough if I rest. As long as I am horizontal, I am resting, and this is good. I don't have to fall asleep. This is a paradoxical trick, y'all. Laying there, putting pressure, worrying of tiredness, of the amount of hours that I'm not going to sleep or I get to sleep, or the clock count down to the morning. That's not conducive to sleep. But the peace from this is actually fine. If I just lay here, it's the secret trick to actually drifting off. And here's the other side of that coin. When I don't, I had a night a few weeks ago where I woke up at 1 a.m. and I was just up and I had a big day. I tried every technique, and this is a hard truth, y'all. I wish it wasn't true, but it is. Sometimes despite our best efforts, despite every technique under the sun, sometimes it's just not going to work. Sometimes there's other things at play. And if we stress about that, do you see? Then we're in the loop at night of practicing the stress again. So this is a lovely secret trick. I hope to not be so secret. That when you say, I just can lay here and that is good enough. The rest that I get from that, even if I am to not sleep, is so much better than a night full of stressing and frustration and irritation and raw nerves. You can break the cycle of worry, disrupting sleep. You really can. But the realness is, you're not going to feel like you can till after you do it. So don't let that critical voice get you here. You're never going to get this. Sleep is always going to suck. Don't let your critical voice do that to you. It might not feel easy, and that's okay. Look at your life. I bet you've been through a lot of things that were not easy. Can you see how getting through to the other side was worth it? And you know that now? But for damn sure, that was not something you were going to learn while you were in the middle of the struggle of it. Sleep is very similar. And you bring yourself a little dose of peace when you allow it to be so. It's okay to laugh a little too, to catch our minds running around in circles, to be able to sit back like the little birdie of mindfulness on the shoulder, and with a gentleness, with an ease, bring a lightness that says, I see you. Ooh, man, you are in the worry. Want to come over here to the gratitude station with me? Let's fill up with a little gratitude and bring a lightness instead of a, oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? I'm thinking and thinking, this is so stupid. Let go of all of that judgment, all of that critical voice. Give it the finger. Tell it no. Don't listen to it. Over time, you really will be able to shrink this worry muscle and atrophy that instead of your sleep ones. Don't get into a trap of worrying about doing these techniques. Do you hear it? Just do them simply with an open mind and an open heart. It's a doing, not a thinking. Don't give up after a few days, y'all, especially if this has been a struggle for years and years and years. Just be very real and kind and patient. And for a lot of you, that means reparenting yourself. So many of us did not get patience, kindness, understanding, guidance, encouragement from our families of origin. It's why you're here. You are tasked with doing that for yourself now. And if you were sitting in front of me in a one-on-one and you said, yeah, Nikki, but that's so uncomfortable, I would look at you and I would say, with all the love in the world, I don't care how hard it is. Quit giving your energy to that thought. Do it. In fact, do it if it's hard, even more. That's the only way to have it be easier. You don't have to do this or anything perfectly, but you do have to do it for any change. For you to feel the benefits and the effect of your effort, you gotta stick with that change because of this way that we are so habitual in nature. We learn through habits and patterns. So in change work, we must give ourselves enough practice with these changes for these changes to take hold of us. So try a day, then let it turn into 2 days, then a week, then try to do a full month, then see where you are. Yes, it's about tonight, but it's also about every future night of your life being made easier, more restful, more restorative by you. I do want to take a moment to thank those of you who have bought my newest item, Patternscapes. What's occurred to me by getting feedback is that for almost 7 years, y'all, in March, we're celebrating our 7th anniversary. I've been getting on this microphone and sharing my voice with all of you. I have given you sort of my all in terms of showing myself and sharing myself. And now something really beautiful has happened. Now I made this tangible thing, this deck of meditations and exercises. And the reality that now in a moment of struggle, whereas before you might have reached for an episode, reached for a video of mine to help you through, now you get to have something tangible in a moment where you're struggling. The beauty of that, the power of that has really hit me like right in my heart. To those of you that have given feedback, like I had no idea how impactful these cards would be to my life. Thank you. Another really powerful piece of feedback was someone saying, basically, oh my goodness, I think this is finally going to be the thing that helps me quit smoking. And my favorite is, Nikki, I know you did this with your whole heart to give to us, and that it is a box of me. If you want Patternscapes, come to getpatternscapes.com. If you're in the US, we can ship to you. We are committed to figuring out how to ship internationally later this year. If you can see me in video right now, this is what it looks like, y'all. And if you're in Patreon, of course, you get our biggest discount. Listeners of the show, if you want to save 10%, use code New Year through the end of January. I can't wait to get more of your feedback. Thank you so much for being a listener all these years. Thank you for being open and willing. Thank you for receiving what me and my small team has worked so hard to put together and put out for your greater well-being. I'm an emotional badass. You are an emotional badass. And together, we are where Moxie meets mindful. Till next time, I wish you beautiful slumber. Take care of yourselves out there. And I'll see you next time for a brand new episode. Light and love. Bye-bye. Finger, tell it no. Don't listen to it. Over time, you really will be able to shrink this worry muscle and atrophy that instead of your sleep ones. Don't get into a trap of worrying about doing these techniques. Do you hear it? Just do them simply with an open mind and an open heart. It's a doing, not a thinking. Don't give up after a few days, y'all. Especially if this has been a struggle for years and years and years. Just be very real and kind and patient. And for a lot of you, that means reparenting yourself. So many of us did not get patience, kindness, understanding, guidance, encouragement from our families of origin. It's why you're here. You are tasked with doing that for yourself now. And if you were sitting in front of me in a one-on-one and you said, yeah, Nikki, but that's so uncomfortable, I would look at you and I would say, with all the love in the world, I don't care how hard it is. Quit giving your energy to that thought. Do it. In fact, do it if it's hard, even more. That's the only way to have it be easier. You don't have to do this or anything perfectly, but you do have to do it for any change. For you to feel the benefits and the effect of your effort, you gotta stick with that change because of this way that we are so habitual in nature. We learn through habits and patterns. So in change work, we must give ourselves enough practice with these changes for these changes to take hold of us. So try a day, then let it turn into 2 days, then a week, then try to do a full month, then see where you are. Yes, it's about tonight, but it's also about every future night of your life being made easier, more restful, more restorative by you. I do want to take a moment to thank those of you who have bought my newest item, Patternscapes. What's occurred to me by getting feedback is that for almost 7 years, y'all, in March, we're celebrating our 7th anniversary. I've been getting on this microphone and sharing my voice with all of you. I have given you sort of my all in terms of showing myself and sharing myself. And now something really beautiful has happened. Now I made this tangible thing, this deck of meditations and exercises. And the reality that now in a moment of struggle, whereas before you might have reached for an episode, reached for a video of mine to help you through, now you get to have something tangible in a moment where you're struggling. The beauty of that, the power of that has really hit me like right in my heart. To those of you that have given feedback, like I had no idea how impactful these cards would be to my life. Thank you. Another really powerful piece of feedback was someone saying, basically, oh my goodness, I think this is finally going to be the thing that helps me quit smoking. And my favorite is, Nikki, I know you did this with your whole heart to give to us, and that it is a box of me. If you want Patternscapes, come to getpatternscapes.com. If you're in the US, we can ship to you. We are committed to figuring out how to ship internationally later this year. If you can see me in video right now, this is what it looks like, y'all. And if you're in Patreon, of course, you get our biggest discount. Listeners of the show, if you want to save 10%, use code New Year through the end of January. I can't wait to get more of your feedback. Thank you so much for being a listener all these years. Thank you for being open and willing. Thank you for receiving what me and my small team has worked so hard to put together and put out for your greater well-being. I'm an emotional badass. You are an emotional badass. And together, we are where Moxie meets mindful. Till next time, I wish you beautiful slumber. Take care of yourselves out there. And I'll see you next time for a brand new episode. Light and love. Bye-bye.